All right, here we go. Episode 1 of the Run It Up show. I
Here
am
we
your
go.
host, Mel Yu. I just thought I'd introduce myself. And we've got,
My name's Switch Stevens. Thanks for having me here, Mel.
we are your co-hosts. This is going to be as awkward as it gets, and I promise it will get better from this intro.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot.
Intro show for sure. We're going to get straight into it. We thought the first episode would be really good for those that have no idea who the hell we are, or actually a lot of us that might just know my brand or your brand. This is really the beginning of a partnership and a friendship
Yes.
and a collaboration and a very exciting business venture.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do a podcast as well. So here we are. And yeah, I thought we would set the tone with a quick, short episode about who we are. It's probably the last time we will talk about exactly who we are and our founding stories. And the aim of this show is to bring on other people within the creative space, within the business space, and to really provide a fuck ton of value. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, of course we can swear on it.
I think I'm gonna
Just by habit, I'll accidentally be swearing on it.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully provide a fuck ton of value to our community, and we will show that and gain your trust and value and friendship, hopefully, over the time that we're here together. I'm so awkward. First things first, Switch. All right, let's do it.
All right.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship because this show is going to be about entrepreneurship. We're entrepreneurs. How did you get into it?
How did I get into entrepreneurship? Well, I was kind of always a hustler, I would say. I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur. My very first job was when I was 12 years old. I hounded this Thai Tong. It was called Thai Tong. It was a Thai restaurant in Yandina in Queensland. And I hounded them every week. I would ride my bike in and ask for a job. But I was like 12 and they were like, we're not giving you a job. You're too young. You have to be, I think it was like 14 and a half you had to be to get a job. Anyway, I went there for like 6 weeks in a row. And they eventually called my mum and was like, hey, can we give this freaking hassling kid a job? And they did. And then that kind of sparked some interest into me. And then I kind of just worked and I started a band, which was kind of my first, my first insight into entrepreneurship, because even though it was a band, I took the business side really seriously. I loved putting on events. I loved our product, which was our music, our merch. I loved the social media side of things and the management. And that kind of, it ended in like 2020. And that's when I was like, I put all that time and energy into my first legit real business, which was a cafe. And then that was it. I've always been an entrepreneur now. I'm not going back to no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to that 24/7, 7 days a week.
That's the thing, isn't it, with entrepreneurship? You kind of the idea of working for yourself or creating your own freedom lifestyle sounds great, but the reality is like, well, at least what me and you know of is we work really, really hard.
At least for now.
Yeah.
That's it. I always see it as I'd rather put, I'm 31. I'd rather put 9 years in solid working 7 days a week until I'm 40 and then have the chance to, retire, quote unquote,
Yeah.
at
100%.
40.
100%.
What about you?
I'm probably very similar to you in the sense that I never called myself an entrepreneur. I didn't even know the word. I think realistically, none of us in the 90s or
It's become a very cool word now.
It's become a very cool word, but was I ever entrepreneurial though? Absolutely. I was very academic in school, very, very driven, and my parents owned a Chinese restaurant as immigrants. And so I think I've always grown up around at least the idea of working for yourself, because my parents both worked really, really hard and they worked for themselves, but I didn't see them as an entrepreneur. And I even now looking back, Dad's passed, but he did it because he had to. Whereas the idea of entrepreneurship for me is I believe that an entrepreneur really sets out to solve a problem at the core of what that meaning is. And I think that they take huge risks. They're the traits. And I kind of fell into it. Academically, I had a psychology background. And then over a series of life happenings, you can go and check out my own personal brand and stuff. But I ended up working in the event space, which was so left field. And I worked at these tattoo conventions for the better of 4 years, and then came out and was like, I feel like I can do something on my own. And yeah, I just went out and set out to prove that. But I don't know. I never thought that I would work for myself, but now that I've been doing it for 8 years, same thing as you. I don't know if I know any other way. So was I always destined to sort of be entrepreneurial? Maybe, because life's kind of ended up that way.
I think once you get a taste of working for yourself, it's so hard to go back. It's hard to go back to be managed by someone else. That's what
I think, yeah, if you are a born and bred entrepreneur. So I think there's also no shame in tasting it and then going, this sucks and I need to go back, because it's a game that requires so much grit, so much tenacity, so much resilience. So on that, I suppose, like you had a cafe, you had a band, you've kind of evolved the business, and the business now is known as Run It Up Media. How did you end up learning from these past businesses that may not have come to fruition or quote unquote success? How did you use those lessons to then continue and build this next phase?
So Run It Up Media really started as a videography, like content creation business. Now it's a creative branding agency. And it started, obviously, like it started with like my band. The band was called Yeah Don't Care, and we did a lot of like music videos. We were always like making content and stuff like that. But the real content game started in 2021 when I had my cafe. COVID just completely took every single human soul away, and I had no way of getting anyone into the cafe because there was literally no one around. So I was stuck in there, me and just one other person working in there, and I just started making shit tons of TikToks. I legitimately posted 3 times a day for almost a year straight. It was over 900 posts in 1 year.
And for those that don't know, we are in Melbourne, which went through like 8 lockdowns.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Something ridiculous. We were in lockdown for like 350 days out of the 365.
And even when we weren't in lockdown, it just went into...
it was a time.
It was 50,000 cases a day. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that led to me just making heaps and heaps and heaps of videos. And that also then just, I learned so much. I learned what worked and what didn't, what was, I just tested so many different styles of content. And eventually that kind of started to get noticed. And, my TikTok account grew to 90,000 or something at the time. And my Instagram account grew to, tens and 20, 30,000 or something. And then other people started asking me, they were like, hey, how are you doing that? And I was like, oh, well, if I had your business or your brand, I would do it like this because I tested mine like this and I got this result. And then, so I'd do that for someone else and then it would actually yield a good result. And they're like, holy shit, can you do that more for me? And I'll pay you. And I was like, all right, cool. And then that led to one thing to another. And then all of a sudden I realized I was making more money doing these videos for other people than I was making from my own cafe. And it was just a no-brainer. I was like, I'm closing down this cafe and I'm going all in on this business.
And I think the reality is that we now live in a day and age where everything is content. And we are very aligned in that and believe that the way that we market now, the way that people get seen, the way that people get heard is through platforms like this, which is long-form content like a podcast that then gets to get repurposed into shorts. And a lot of people follow us on our own personal brand journeys on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And these are the more common search engines now as opposed to your traditional Google platform. And so that's why we're here ready to create content. And I think over this time in these conversations, we want to just provide a hell of a ton of value around why content is so important, but the types of content, because you have a skill set, and I don't think everyone necessarily has that eye. Some people look at content as just so overwhelming, or the way that we see things and we see these social media platforms evolving, we have something to teach, and also like services that we can definitely provide to elevate brands.
Yeah.
For me, I think from a psychology background, just understanding people, like I'm being so fascinated around relationships and people. But as I then dived into business and started working with other brands and small businesses, I recognized that the number one thing that people need is awareness. because people can't even buy your stuff or know about your services if you're not branded. And when we talk about brand in a very just general term, branding is all just about identity. It's about who you are in the world, where you're positioned, and also then in terms of personal brands, your reputation and how people perceive you. And my belief is that if you can build a strong enough brand, the marketing and the sales is a lot easier to achieve because the branding is the foundation and the deep work.
Yeah. If you have a strong brand, the sales will just come, I believe.
Yeah. And the brand, when you can actually articulate and craft your personal brand, whoever's listening to this, or your company brand, if you really get that work right, it helps anchor and becomes like a roadmap to everything that you do. You will be able to go, that's not on brand, or that's not aligned to our brand. And you'll really start speaking to your ideal target audience rather than a business that's just like, oh, well, we do everything and we service everyone. That to me is a really diluted brand because as human beings, we don't love everything and we don't like everyone.
Well, if you're everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So how did you come to be a part of Run It Up Media?
Yeah, great question, because here we are. So I've been doing business, for 8 years on my own solo with MCO Events. It's a corporate event management company. And I feel like over time, a lot of people actually came to me for marketing. A lot of people were coming to me about how to post, how to manage their socials. And I'm like, I've never even marketed myself as a marketer. But somehow, because I've done that so well for myself with my own lived experience, people were genuinely really resonating with that type of content and going, well, if you can do it for yourself, how can you teach me and do it for me? And so we'll always still have an event management company, but I think the ability as a business owner to listen to the problems that people are coming to you with and then being able to evolve your business and services to serve those people that are you already have trust with and that want to buy from you. They just need to buy the right product and service that you're offering. And so we will still do event management, but people are coming on a more mass scale social media branding management. And so I started doing that ad hocly and I started running these branding events. They were crafted as events, but I was positioning myself as a personal branding expert and we were running these live seminars. And so I had done 3 before I approached you for my interstate one, but I'm someone that is always about risk-taking, trial and error, figuring out what works. And the thing about partnerships and collaborations is you really do have to align because finding a business partner is at times even more intimate. You spend so much more time with your business partner than your actual partner. Shout out to Jordan and Holly. We love you. But yeah, so I reached out to you to do an event. I said, hey, Switch, you are a video marketing guru. I love strategy. I love all things brand. And like I mentioned, the psychology behind why people do what they do. And come along to my Sydney event and let's do this in partnership and let's see how it worked. Obviously, we got along like a house on fire, and it was a great event. Yeah, we absolutely killed it.
It was good fun.
And to be fair, that was only 3 weeks ago.
Was it only 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
no way.
Was like maybe just a month now. Exactly. So that was only like 4 weeks ago. But I actually want to talk about this because it's really important about speed of implementation, and I think why we align so much is. Guys, we've built an entire set for those that are watching the video and not just audio, an entire set in and by we, I mean Switch.
Yeah, I've been in there for like 4 days slaving away.
But in such a short amount of time when we said, Run It Up needs a podcast. Okay, I've digressed. But we went to this event, got along really well, and then started getting really organic clients from that first event. And I was managing strategy and doing like the overall thing, and you were doing all the video deliverables and the script writing and the idea generation. Now, they're very complementary skills. And so if you're looking for a business partner or someone to work with in your business, I think that you need to have the same values, but you actually have to be skilled and have different strengths and weaknesses that complement each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I've been a sole founder and so have you for as long as time. And when I've recognized, because I've tried partnerships before and I've tried collaborations before, and sometimes it just hasn't worked. Not that there's any bad blood or anything. It just hasn't been the right fit. And then I think with this is I've got 8 years under my belt now. I'm very experienced and I just feel like this would be such a beautiful partnership. So I do what I do best and was like, all right, we need to merge businesses. Let's actually bring this all under the one umbrella. Let my staff come through and be part of Run It Up now.
And
so
shouts out to those girls. They're absolute guns.
honestly, like, and that's something that's really important for me in terms of work culture, to be able to bring a team on and then basically have a whole nother boss that they don't even know. And we're like, here we go. And I think being really transparent as well. So like even with shows like this episode, it's like being really transparent that this is our first one. We're out here putting, I think it's quite vulnerable, right? Like it's putting your heart out on your sleeve and being like, I don't know, we're not scripted, if you can see, you can probably feel it.
Yeah.
We have absolutely no script because we just wanted to get this first episode out of the way. And yeah, and now here we are 4 weeks later. We just had a meeting with our accountant today and everything's getting merged and becoming one entity. And I'm really, really excited about that because I think that together with our minds and our power combined, we can really, really service a whole generation of brands.
Yeah, I think so too. So now, what would you say your 1 year plan for Run It Up Media would be? Where would you like to be?
Well, for 1 year from here, like I want to be hitting 10 million. And this sounds so
Christ.
obnoxious, right? But I think sometimes you have to play in this fantasy land of delusional. And now if you've listened to Grant Cardone, you'll understand this foundation philosophy of 10x. So I could tell you I want to hit our first million. But for me, I feel like that is a goal that's not to, just where we're at. It's not that stretched. And so I want to just be able to open my mindset and to have that growth mindset and to just 10x it. And I've been calling this out for the whole year.
I've
just been like, hey, I'm going to make my first 10 milli. I'm going to make my 10 million. And some people might listen and be like, well, who needs that much or whatnot? But for me, I guess the world that I play in and the people that I have around me, 10 million is actually like a very small amount. So yeah, I want to, not just to say a financial goal, but I think for me, a financial goal has been something that I am driven towards because of the access and the lifestyle that monetary value can get me and also the people that we serve. So for me, if I go, I want to be able to have a $10 million business, to me that actually means that I've helped 10 million people or at least reached 10 million people and impacted them in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Man, I'm here to conquer. I want to create Australia's biggest creative branding agency. I want to disrupt the industry in some way and leave a mark on Australia, if not the world, and be like, yeah, that was Switch. He had whatever it was. Yeah, that's I want to be like on the cover of Forbes or something.
Yeah.
Like something like business entrepreneur, freaking Gary V level. That's my 10x. It's 10 mil, 100 mil, whatever. I couldn't care as long as we conquer the industry and at least just leave a really big mark on it. That's what I'm here for.
And I think that's something that me and you have both really been like, great. Our big vision, our big, hairy, audacious goal is very, very similar.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter how we're going to get there. And I'm sure we'll clash and do all those things that business partners do. But I think what I really want from this episode is for people to feel inspired because we came into each other's lives in a very, very short time frame. And it's only been really 3 weeks, 4 weeks that we've not only done an event together in another city. We went to Sydney. We're from Melbourne. And now we've merged businesses and now we're episode 1 down with a full entire set on a podcast. Now you don't have to do this, whatever your start looks like. We all have different levels of where our start is, but you have to start. I think that's the main thing with this episode 1.
Well, that's it. Money likes speed, wealth likes time, and to be poor likes indecision. So yeah.
So what are you deciding to do,
Act quick.
Yeah.
Execution.
And a mantra that I want to leave people with, I know we probably want to wrap it up or something and I've probably waffled, but a mantra that I really live by is done is better than perfect. And that just landed for me at the time that it needed to. So it might not land for you now, but the idea that if you are a perfectionist, just really be conscious of how much that perfectionism is stopping you and hindering you from actually living your full potential, because it's all in the massive action that we've been able to create the success and the brands and the work. We're on our way. We're definitely, I don't feel like we're both like we're here, we've landed, but like,
Nah, we've got a long way to go.
But we're episode 1 down.
I don't think we're walking anymore. I think we've picked up a bit of pace and we're getting close to running. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. What do you hope for this podcast? What do you hope for this part of our business and this show?
I don't know. I actually always wanted to create a podcast. I've just never really gotten around to it. So this is quite exciting, but definitely we have to go above 21 episodes because the statistic is like, it's like 0.1%.
I'm pretty sure it's 98% of podcasts don't end up over 21 episodes.
Yeah. It's like most of them don't go past one episode. And then the next whatever it is, 98% don't make it past episode 21. So at least minimum 100.
Yeah, here we go. Triple.
Yeah, you've had it here.
Digits. Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, that's us.
Hopefully you guys listen to many more to come. We'll be bringing more guests on. I reckon we'll open up the forum of what people want to know, but it will be around all things success, failure, business, entrepreneurship, branding, marketing, creative. So if that's kind of your cup of tea, stick around and we'll be delivering a lot more.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to us waffle for 22 minutes.
To be exact.
Yeah.
Have a good night, wherever you are in the world.